Hello and welcome to another Blender know-how tutorial. Right now we are at this point of our humanoid character. I will put a link in the description so that you can access the file, but if you would like to, you can go ahead and watch the previous video and get caught up to speed with some of the basic functions of Blender 2.8 and how to get to this point, because we created this. So now in this tutorial we are going to create the material. It's very basic, but just to give you a little bit more of how to do this, get the materials and light it a little bit better, as well as position the camera. So now let's go ahead and get started into it. First off, let's you're going to want to get used to navigating around, but if you hit 1 and then hit Control Alt 0, it will actually put you into the camera and move the camera exactly where you were looking. So just to show you a little bit, if I were looking up here and I hit Control Alt 0, it moves the camera right here. As you can see, it placed it right where I was looking. It's the same thing as if taking the camera and moving it right where I was at, but way faster. So now I can move it back here in the front and position the camera. If you're outside the camera and want to be in the camera view, just hit 0 on the numpad. Take you right to the camera so you can see exactly what your rendered scene would look like. Next off, let's click on your character, and I want to make sure that our settings are set up correctly. Make sure your render engine is Eevee right now. It will also work cycles, but Eevee, we can turn on this rendered view and see almost exactly what it would look like if it were rendered. And you can see it almost looks the same color as our background. So let's change that. Let's make sure we're clicked on our object and go to the material tab, which looks like the ball with with a black and black and white. It's all black and white, but you get what I'm saying. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so that we can see. All of these panels are also movable. I don't know if I ever said that, but they're all movable so that you can move things around and see things better. So there is a preview right here that you can see what your object will look like, and it's kind of hard to see honestly because it's the same color as the background. So let's change our base color from this kind of bright white, like what this is right here and what this color is, to your choice. We can make it red or purple or oh, I kind of like that color. I kind of like that light blue. So I'm going to leave it there. And we're going to actually go down this and just show a little bit of some of the things that is going on. So this principled BSDF actually makes more sense if you are obviously if you know Blender a lot, but if you don't, it may be really confusing. Principled BSDF is a fairly new way of shading in Blender. This is actually what a lot of the industry is going towards, where there are a ton of different options, all in one central shader is what they call it, one way of coloring your object. But if you want to replace it, these are all of the other ones that you're more than welcome to use, and you probably will use them even with conjunction with this one. You can add them together. We're not going to get into that in this tutorial as that's generally a little bit more advanced. But yeah, you can actually add all these. Like if you can get the mix shader and mix two of these together, or the add shader and add more than one of them together. So there's a lot of, the possibilities are literally endless with it. And I wouldn't say principled BSDF is making all these others obsolete. I think it is the default one that will be used for probably the most occasions, whereas all these other ones will be used plenty as well. So as we go down, base color is the base color of your object. Subsurface, this is a way that the computer can calculate the lighting as it enters into the object and as it exits. So that might seem a little confusing, But often, if we look at our skin, and if you stick light up to your, like a finger, you can see how your finger will glow. Like if you stick a light up to your thumb will illuminate a little bit brighter pink or red. Subsurface is exactly that. It is the way the lighting interacts beneath the surface. And all these options interact with that. Warning though, subsurface does take longer for renders, so use it carefully and sparingly. Metallic is how metallic your object is. This is often used in any kind of metal object, obviously. Any kind of metal, this is where you would want to increase. Specular, this you would want to increase or decrease depending on how uh, bright or shiny you would want your object. It's kind of used in conjunction with roughness. Roughness, they're used similarly. They have slightly different results, but they are kind of in the same thought. So specular just mainly does with highlights, and roughness will make them sharper. So if you want to edit those, specular is mainly the overall appearance of your object, or the overall shininess of your object, whereas roughness is more of, you can make your shininess crisper or softer. Anisotropic is used in conjunction with metallic. So, for instance, a lot of metal pans have that circular pattern to them where they have been like brushed, I think is what it's called. Anisotropic is where that would come into play. This is also probably useful with cars. And anisotropic rotation, it is the rotation of that. And there's a few other things that I honestly don't use a ton, but there's sheen, sheen tint, clear coat. In fact, I think some of these are even fairly new to Blender 2.8. Another one that is useful is the IOR, and this actually stands for Index of Refraction, my bad. Index of refraction. When everything that you can see through, like water, or even down to kind of mud, like things that are murky, even have an index of refraction. You can actually pull up index of refraction numbers off the internet and plug right into here and get exact materials of what it should look like. For instance, if you wanted to pull up water, you would just search up water, IOR, type in this number here, and it will come out to look like almost identical to what water should look like because of the index of refraction, how much it refracts and how it refracts. Transmission is how light transmits through it and the roughness of that. And that's pretty much the way materials are used in Blender. Next we're going to get into the lighting. So let's click on our light and let's move it in front of our object so our light is coming from the front. And I'm going to hit 3 to go into the side view, or the right view. And I'm going to change this light, and you want to make sure you're in the tab that looks like a light bulb, which is object data, and click on spot or area. Either one of these will probably give a very similar result. I'm going to click on area and rotate this towards it. And I'm also going to so I just hit R to do that. So now I'm going to hit S and I'm going to make it bigger. And you might not notice it for a second because it was really small. But if we keep scaling it bigger, there's a square that is around it. And if we go into the other 3D view, you can kind of see what it is looking like. And there's a couple things I want you to notice. I'm going to see if I can get in here and make this a little bit smaller. If our square down here is really small, our shadows and light are more harsh. If it is big, they become softer. And The question is, why does it do that? Well, the main reason is because if you have light that is coming from here and crossing in and here, and there's lights coming from bigger area, then there's a small amount of light hitting here and more and more and more, whereas if it's smaller, there is no light hitting here, no light, and then there's light, and there's light and light and light. I don't know if that makes 100% sense what I'm saying, but just know the bigger of area that you have light coming from, the softer the light will be. It's like in real life when you have lights that are a lot further away, they become softer, or lights that are diffused, like when you're doing a photo studio, they often have diffusers on their lights to soften them. It makes the light spread out. That's exactly what's going on here. So we can just make that really big. And I'm going to teach another shortcut. It's Shift D. This is for duplicate, and it will duplicate right there. Just move it over. I'm going to rotate it just to illuminate it a little bit more on the other side. Now I'm going to hit 0, go into the camera view, and one other shortcut that you're going to want to know is F12 on your keyboard. F12 pulls open a render view and renders right from it. So now we have our humanoid character that has been lit and shaded or added a material to it. I hope this helps. Thank you for watching this video and hope to see you next time.